Hello, everybody. I am not sure if you can all hear us just yet. It says it's loading here, but I want to welcome you all to our daily webinar broadcast brought to us live from our partners with Square Inc. and also our partners at New Mexico Tech. And we're super excited. The last couple of days, we've had a little bit of trouble connecting, but welcome to the new world of technology where platforms don't always interface, but we are working on that. If worst case scenario, we lose connection or it does not connect, always just know you can check back to the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber page where we will record it and post it for you guys to ask your questions. So today, guys, it's an important topic, very important. Most of you know that we've been reaching out to the small businesses that are members of the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber as well as the community during this time. And in doing so, we've been asking you to complete a survey. And in that survey, we're able to kind of decipher the different needs and questions and resources of the small business community. And that's how we came up with the webinar series. And one of those questions, actually probably one of the most frequently asked questions, was getting more information about unemployment, what employers need to know about unemployment so they can share with their employees that they are having to either lay off or let go at this time. And then as well as what the employee itself needs to know as well. So today with us, we have Cabinet Secretary Bill McCamely with us, and he is, I believe, in and out. He was there a second ago. I'm not sure if he's there right now, but he'll be with us in just a second to be able to talk to us about what's happening within the Department of Workforce Solutions. There he is. And also hopefully answer some of those questions that you guys all have. We understand it's a very busy time in our community, our state, and our country right now, but we'll do our best to get those answered. So please, if you could please introduce yourself, Secretary McCamely, and tell us all about what's going on in your world.
Good afternoon to everybody watching live and to you.
Oh, I think we lost him for just a second. I'll be right back. We'll give him a second here. Yeah, this technology that we're in right now is so crazy. And I know that poor little old Facebook probably has more live videos than they know what to do with. And so we'll give him a second to get back on.
So I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yay, I can hear you and I can see you.
So I am the Secretary of the Workforce Solutions Department. We are the state agency in charge of running the unemployment office. And as many of you all of you all probably know, with the current COVID-19 situation, after the public health orders that the governor put out, our office has been busy because we are one of the tools that folks can have to stay home. I think that's one of the most important things we need to talk about, is to remember that everything we're doing under the Governor Lujan Grisham administration is to try to keep New Mexicans safe and try to keep New Mexicans healthy. And not just from the direct effect of the virus itself, but also to make sure that our healthcare workers and our healthcare institutions are protected. I was on the phone a couple of weeks ago with some union construction guys, and they were asking, why is this so important? And the message I said to them was, look, fellas, let's say you don't get the virus, but let's say you're out working it on a ladder and you fall down and break a rib and you puncture a lung and you go to a hospital. If our hospitals are in the same situation as they are, for instance, in New York right now, or Detroit, they might not be able to see you, and then your health is in danger from something on an everyday basis you would get seen for, right? So everything we're trying to do is to try to allow folks to stay home, make sure they're socially distanced, and stay healthy. So a lot of times, though, that means if I'm laid off or if I have a reduction in hours, I need something to be able to get me through. And that's what unemployment is there for. That is the tool that it is there for. So just to give everyone an understanding of the situation that we find ourselves in the Great Recession, so from like 2008 to the height of it in 2010, in New Mexico, we had about between 50 and 60,000 people some weeks, which was the maximum folks we had on unemployment at any one time. And it took us about 2 years to get there. On May 9th of this year, we had 9,600 people on the unemployment rolls certifying every week. And we had about 650 to 800 people that would apply in those first weeks of the year for new benefits. Since March 15th until last Thursday, those are the numbers that we have now, we've had about 80,000 people apply. We have about 62,000 people that are certifying for unemployment, which means they're in the system and either getting money or making sure that their case gets adjudicated, which is run through the process. A couple of weeks ago on a Monday, I think on the 29th, we had 687,000 phone calls to come into a call center. And so we understand there's a frustration out there. We understand there is a tough situation, and this is leading a lot of people to be, frustrated and sometimes frankly angry. And so what are we doing to address the situation? First of all, we are encouraging everybody, if they can, to both apply for unemployment and certify. Remember, you have to certify every single week if you're on unemployment to be able to get your money for that week. We're asking them to do that online to jobs.state.nm.us. That is jobs.state.nm.us. Unlike other states, our website has stayed pretty robust. It hasn't gone down at all. And you've got other states like Kentucky or New York where the website has completely crashed. You have states like Texas where they're asking people to go on at 3 a.m. in the morning because that's when their servers have the most capacity. Our website has stayed pretty easy to use and pretty fast. When you do that, though, the biggest hangup we've had so far with people using our online system is they either forget their password or they enter it in wrong when they get their initial email to set up their account. That has been.
Oh, looks like we lost him again, guys. Hang in there. He will be right back with us shortly. We'll give you a second to get back on. There you are again.
Right. So that is the biggest issue that we've got, is people remembering their passwords. And if you can do that and use our online system, you're going to make life easier for yourself. You're going to make life easier for us. If you do have to call in, if you have a question that absolutely has to be answered, we are asking people, please only call in on a certain day. So if the last digit of your social security number is 0 through 3, please call in on Monday, 4 to 6 Tuesday, and 7 to 9 Wednesday.
When he comes back, he may have to disable his webcam. It seems he's having internet issues.
Okay.
It keeps losing me.
I'm wondering if you could just disable the webcam and we'll stay with audio. Oh, there you are again. Okay, we'll try it again. You're back on.
Okay. So if you could please try to ask your folks to call in on those days. The way that our system works is Monday is always our hardest day. Monday is always the day that we get the most phone calls. People are working themselves up over the weekend. They want to certify on the phone rather than online. And people have a really hard time getting through on Monday. Friday is the easiest day to get through. And it doesn't matter whether you apply or certify on a Monday or a Friday. But if you could try to help us out by abiding those rules on your last digit of your social security number on days to call in, that'll help keep our volumes lower and allow our people to be able to do more good to more people. Now, what have we done to expand our call services? Starting last week, we expanded our hours from, it used to be from 8 to 4:30. We've expanded that to 7 to 7. We have added more people almost every day to the call lines. Next week, we expect to add about 60 more, which will give us on a max day about 200 people answering phone calls, which is more than double what we had before. We are bringing in some retirees to help us in the adjudication process. And what does that mean? A lot of folks, when they get unemployment and they see their accounts, they see issue pending or hold. What that means is that we have to make sure that the data that employees gives Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, Shannon, you're muted as well. Bill, if you could just continue with your microphone and not video. It seems you're having internet issues. Your
Sure.
bandwidth will be greatly eaten by video. So just do just microphone.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll go with this then. No one needs to see my ugly face anyway. That's not going to brighten anybody's day. And with my shaved head, I usually end up blinding people. So this is probably better. So what we want to make sure is that we add more people to the adjudication process so that we can make sure that folks who have those hold issues or those pending issues get taken care of faster. We are also putting in what is called an auto adjudication system where we've got, for instance, under regular unemployment rules, you have to be what we call separated from your employer, which means you have to be laid off. Well, we've got over 13,000 people in our system who are saying, I'm not laid off, I'm just furloughed, getting hours this week. And the employers are going with that. And so that's usually something that we don't get a lot of in our system. We're obviously getting a lot of that now. So we're putting them all in a bucket and we'll be able to judge them as a group in chunks. And so we're working very hard to get folks.
I'm gonna have Bill dial in. Shannon, if you could reach out to him and have him call in. He's having internet issues and it's just gonna keep cutting out.
Bill, can you hear me? Because I think we might have you call in. There's a call-in number on the Zoom info, and we can wait a minute for you to call in. I think that might be best. So while Secretary McCamley is doing that, let's kind of recap, guys, while he gets back on a couple of the important points. I was taking notes here. First of all, it's best if you have your questions to pile them into a little notepad, and based on the last digit of your social security number, it's much easier for them to fill the calls based on that. So if you're 0 through 3, please call in on Mondays. If you are ending in 4 through 6, please call in on Tuesdays. And if you are ending 7, 8, or 9, please call in on Wednesdays. They've also extended the hours of the Department of Workforce Solutions unemployment line. That is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., whereas before it was 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So that helps as well. And one thing that the department is doing to help the incredible influx of employment claims and calls is they are adding close to, well, they will have a total of close to 200 people, adding an extra 100 people, and even bringing in some retirees to help fill those calls because they understand the importance of having you guys get your questions answered in a timely fashion. I think one thing that's super important to remember, this is also fluid right now. And because all of this is really 5 weeks old, 5 to 6 weeks old, all of the departments, all of the community is having to adjust to the amount of people that we are working with on a regular basis. And so the information is a lot, and being able to have the amount of people to take care of filtering through all of that information is definitely has been a project in itself. So they are working on getting their workforce up to capacity, past capacity to support that. They also spoke about an auto adjudication system. The adjudication process is simply to get approved. Prior to COVID-19, you had to be let go by your employer, and you had to apply for 3 positions a week within other jobs that you might be looking for in the community. And so I think now what's really, really great is they're going to be working on that auto system. So I think we have Secretary McCamley back. Can you
all hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Thank you
Wonders
so
of modern
much.
technology.
No, and you know what? It's a fail-safe. If we can't see you, we can hear you, or you can call in. So we're going to make it work no matter what. And thank you to Liam and the group over at New Mexico Tech for helping us get through that. So we appreciate you guys. Please continue.
So we just talked about the auto adjudication issue and how that will help more people hopefully get into the system. And so there's a couple more things people should be aware of. Number one, the Federal CARES Act was passed on the 27th of March, and it was set up to basically add a lot of programs to unemployment. So a couple of those things we've been able to implement so far. The first is we have waived what is called the waiting week. In New Mexico, traditionally, unemployment has required you to have a waiting week between when you apply and when you start getting benefits. Obviously, the federal government wanted us to get as much money into people's hands as possible, and so they waived that, and we've been able to change our system to allow folks who are applying now to get on faster and allow people who've been on since the 15th of March to be able to bump their schedules up for unemployment a week to get an extra payment, and that's all happening pretty much this week. So it's putting more money into people's pockets now. The second thing we've been able to do is implement the extra $600 benefit, which goes on top of traditional unemployment. It's called the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program. So if you, let's say, are qualified for $300 a week in unemployment, you will be able to get $900 a week for, I believe it's a 13-week period moving forward with that program. And that is getting implemented starting on the weekend. So anybody that certifies from this upcoming Sunday on will get that extra $600. Furthermore, if you've been on since the 29th of March, you should receive an extra $1,200 because we are backdating those $600 claims to when you were on. So if you were in the last 2 weeks, you'll get that moving forward. There are two other parts we're working on implementing. I know that the self-employment piece is a hot topic, and it's something a lot of people are interested in. We are working very, very hard at the department to try and make sure that when we implement that system, we do it in a good way. It's pretty easy to get things done quickly and then have a bad system and have your system crash around you. We actually tried last week to get out $1.5 million that we had in a separate program just to help some self-employed folks, and we tried to do it too quickly, and we had like 900 people apply for that in a 20-minute time span, and it crashed our computer system. So we want to make sure as we build our system up, we do it in a way that it's solid so that people can apply, and not only that, they can do it in a way where they're going to get paid in a good time frame. Some other states out there people may have heard are accepting applications for self-employed folks, but from what we understand, there's not a real process on the back end to get people their checks. And we want to make sure as we get this program implemented, we do it holistically so that people can get paid as soon as possible. The last part of the CARES Act that we're looking to implement is the extended benefits portion of the act. So if people have exhausted their unemployment benefits, they're allowed to reapply and be able to continue those benefits. But these are all systems changes that have to be done. I know there's some frustration that some of this hasn't been done yet, but we are working through them, and we're trying to do them in a systematic fashion where it works, and so far it generally has. There's one last thing for your listeners that I would like to talk about, since many of them are business owners. If you are a business owner, you're almost assuredly aware that your payroll taxes are a combination of a formula where you combine how many people you've laid off, what the health of the trust fund is. So the higher it is, the lower your taxes, because the higher it is, you don't need to be putting in more, and the type of industry you're in. We have waived the portion of that tax that is dealing with layoffs. Because so many people have to lay off all of their employees, we've done what we call mutualize the tax, so that everybody's tax rate will be, at least from the start of the 15th of March when this thing started, will be based on the rate of the fund itself. So the lower it goes, the higher the tax goes, but the people who are in businesses that have had to lay everybody off aren't going to be bearing the brunt of that burden. It's going to be shared across everybody. So those are some of the updates we have for our system. I know I've been talking and intermittently going in and out for a while, but I would be happy to try to answer anybody's questions should they have any.
So yeah, just a couple of quick questions. And first, I want to thank you for all that info. I will sum that up to the listening audience with some bullet points, because there's a lot of stuff in there we were unaware of. I think that small business owners and employees themselves are also unaware of. So thank you so much for that. Want to just touch base on a couple of items that I think just clearing, getting a little bit more clarity on. One is, if you currently have or had applied for unemployment benefits and you were approved for a certain amount of money, this additional $600 would be on top of that and available for up to 13 weeks. And also you're backing it out for the last 2 weeks as well, correct?
Yes. So if you were, and I know one of your questions is, how is my benefit determined? And your benefit is determined by how much you've worked in the last 18 months. So basically the last 5 fiscal quarters. Sorry, 15 months. My math was wrong there. How much you've worked in the last 5 fiscal quarters. You have to have made almost $2,100 in one of those quarters and at least $1 in another quarter to make the minimum benefit, which is like $80. That goes all the way up to $461. So if you've worked full time that whole time span, you're most likely going to be qualified for $461. So yes, that $600 that goes through the summer is on top of whatever you're making. So if I qualify to make $300 a month, as this thing kicks in next week, I'm going to be getting $900 a month.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And again, we'll clarify that as people will have additional questions surrounding that. So I think one of the other questions, because it cut out just a little bit while you were talking, could you repeat the days of the week and the ending Social Security numbers? When is the best time to call in so we get that correct?
Yeah, thank you very much. So if your Social Security number ends from 0 to 3, we're asking you to call in on Monday. 4 to 6 to call in on Tuesday, and 7 to 9 to call in on Wednesday, with Thursday and Friday reserved for people who've missed their day or couldn't get through on the phones. Like I said, the issue for us has been that on Monday, everybody seems to call in. And if we could get people to abide by that schedule and kind of even out those days and the number of callers we've got coming in, it'll knock people's frustrations down a lot more, and it'll allow us to do a better job of helping people on a more in-depth basis.
Yes, I agree. I hope that everybody out there listening, like I said a few minutes ago, take a notepad, write those questions down that you have, and use that time to call in, and we'll make sure that you guys get that number. We'll put it inside of this post. And also, please make note, they have extended their hours to cover the large influx of calls and claims coming in from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. as well. I think one of the other questions that had come in is, and this is more of a general because I know it's hard to pinpoint, but how are you guys seeing payments being sent out for somebody that might have applied 3 to 4 weeks ago when all of this started, who have yet to receive a payment? I think that it's a kind of a two-part question. One, when do you start to expect to see that stuff coming out? And number two, how do they just send all the weeks that they've applied, or is it, how does that work when the payment arrives?
Sure. So first of all, in terms of timing, it really depends on your individual situation when you're going to get your benefit in your chosen form of payment. So a lot of people, if they're a fairly simple application, will be able to start to certify and get benefits the week after they apply. For some other folks, as I said, there's that adjudication procedure where in the past we would go through every single case one by one and say, okay, do the numbers match up? Because if we get numbers from the employer where it doesn't match up, then we've got to go back and forth and figure out which one is right. And that's important because it determines what your benefit's going to be. We also have to figure out whether people, you know, for lack of a better word, check all the boxes the federal government requires of us for this program. I'll be honest, the unemployment system was not really set up for what it's being asked to do right now. And we're working very hard to bring in some extra what we call adjudicators, so folks that can go through these proposals and make sure they match up, and also working through that auto adjudication process to allow us to approve people in chunks. That just started getting done this week. And so, you know, as people move through, we should, if they've had issues, many people are going to have their issues solved either this week or next week with that auto adjudication process. In terms of the type of payment you can get, you can choose to either get a direct deposit into your bank account. Now, for those folks, please understand that's generally easier than the other way, but it does take an additional 24 hours. So if it says in your account you got paid on Monday, a lot of times it won't show up into your account until Tuesday, because Wells Fargo, who we use for this situation, generally takes 24 to 48 hours to get the benefit into your account. Or you can choose to order a debit card. We prefer direct payment just because it's easier for us in terms of the transaction. We can just get it right into your account. But if you do want a debit card, we'll send you a debit card. It'll be a Wells Fargo card, and the amount will be put on the card when you get it every month. So that's the method we use to make sure people get their benefits in their hands.
Wow, that's something new that I did not know. So that's wonderful. In the past, there was checks or what needed to be. Of course, there's been direct deposits. So having access to that card, if for some reason you don't have a bank account, but I think that having the bank account is going to be easier for all involved there. So I think what we're going to take away from this is, for those of you that are asking questions about how long it's taking and, you know, that kind of stuff, it's simply meant to, you know, understand that the past 5 to 6 weeks has put a heavy burden on the process. And so the department is working through that. And it sounds like most of these problems will be solved in the next, if not this week, in the next week. And so I think that it's important that everybody understands and understands that we need to be a little bit of patient at this time. But again, we'll get you that phone number so that you can call and ask those questions. So I think most of the questions are kind of the same.
Can I add something before you go off? Can I add something before you go off that topic?
Yeah.
We've done everything we possibly can, add information to folks so that they don't have to call in. And one, please go to our website.
It is very hard to hear you right now. It sounds like you're in a bad area.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you just a second to maybe let it come back on, and then we're gonna try again, because you cut out from the very second you said, "Can I add something?"
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, so once again, we're trying to make it easier for folks to get the information that they need without calling our phone line. And everything we can do to decrease the volume of people that are calling our phone lines is something that we want to try to do. So we've added a YouTube page. There are step-by-step instructional videos for both how to apply for your claim and also how to certify. So if you go to jobs.state.nm.us, see the YouTube page. It's on a red banner on the top of our page, and you can get there. Furthermore, we have a chat bot feature on the bottom of our site. So a lot of times we'll have 15 or 20 very, very common questions that we get. And if you can type in your question, a lot of times you'll get the answer for that. As of last week, that thing had about 100,000 uses to it. And we have a frequently asked questions portion of our website, and that's our regular website. I know this gets confusing, but it's dws.state.nm.us. But we ask folks, if you've got questions that are general in nature, please try to find your answers there without calling in. The other thing too is that if you are able to do your application online, many times you don't have to call in to make sure you did it right if it says that it was submitted. We find that we've got so many people, especially in this time, they're home, they're worried about things, and they just want to make sure they do it right. So they'll fill out 95% of the online application and then call in to make sure they did it right and wait for however many hours on the phone that it takes. You don't have to do that, and we'll work hard to make sure that we get your claim processed.
So I think something to add also to all of that, and it's just a general question statement that was presented, was that you can go on and register with the Department of Workforce Solutions, which is you go to their page, you put your information in there, because there's outside of COVID, there's a ton of information in there for job seeking and different benefits that are available to the community, to the public, to the individual. But you also have to go in additionally and certify, not just the first time, but weekly. That has nothing to do with registering with the department. This is a separate benefit of being a part of that registration, which is receiving unemployment benefits. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that is separate, and you need to do that every single week. It's vitally important.
Yes, ma'am. So the federal government requires that everybody go in and certify every week. And the process only takes a few minutes. And what that certification process is a questionnaire, just making sure you're not working and saying, okay, here's what's going on. Now, during regular times, we require you to do a job search, which is part of that certification, but we have waived that at the very least till the end of April to allow folks the opportunity to, stay with the jobs that they can when we get through this and hopefully get back as soon as we can. But if you don't fill out that certification, we cannot get you your benefits. It is federal law. So we had 16,000 people last week that we were not able to help because they didn't certify their accounts. So please, if you're on the system, make sure you go through and you certify your account. And once you certify for the week before, we can get you your benefits for that week.
And it has to be weekly. We had a question come in, but yes, it is weekly. Before we let you go, I want to ask you a question that's on topic but off topic. So, we represent over 1,000 small businesses in New Mexico and in the local area. And though a lot of those businesses have had to shut down or furlough or lay off temporarily, there is a lot of businesses that are open but actually hiring. So if there is a business that is has positions open, where do they go and how do they go about letting you know that they are going to be hiring 10 or 30 employees? Because there is some essential businesses that are busy right now and are looking to put people to work.
Yeah, so we've got a program we just rolled out called All Hands New Mexico, where we are asking businesses to fill out a questionnaire. If you want to send me an email, I can get you the website for that. I don't have it right in front of me right now. But our state workforce board is really pushing this. A lady named Tracy Bryan, she is the chair of the state workforce board, and she's really working hard to get that form out to everyone who is hiring. And what we'll do with that then is say, okay, here are the jobs that businesses have told us they've had open, and what we can do is start going through our list of resumes. We don't just do unemployment at Workforce Solutions. We also have a whole job matchup program where people can upload their resumes into our system. And what our business consultants will do in every region of the state, so obviously this is Albuquerque, so our folks in Mountain Road and some of our folks in Bernalillo and Valencia County can help out as well, is match up those resumes that they've got to the jobs that are being open. So if we get you that information for All Hands New Mexico, it'd be good if your employers could fill that out, and then we could start trying to find people to help you fill those positions.
Yeah, because believe it or not, we've spoken with several employers who are I'm hiring and they're having trouble finding employees. So I think that that's really great, and I will definitely follow up with an email after this. So, is there anything additional you'd like to say and close up? I know that we are being as patient as possible out here in the community for those of us that are waiting for benefits. I can understand the frustration, but it sounds like rest assured everybody's doing everything they can. So I'd like to give you the final word, Secretary McCamley, and help us close this up.
Sure, a couple things. Number one, if you are hiring, please make sure you're following the OSHA regulations that are the guidance for people during this pandemic. This is the tightrope we kind of walk, right? Because yeah, there's going to be people that need employees, but we want to make sure that people are protected and people are safe. So the face coverings are definitely something people are looking at right now. Ways of social distancing. I notice a lot of grocery stores are now saying, hey, look, we're only going to allow certain, percentage of our people in. We want to make sure that they're waiting 6 feet apart in line. All those sorts of things. Please, please, please try to follow those to keep as many people safe and healthy as we can. The last thing I'll say is, yes, ma'am, we are working very, very hard to process all of these claims. Like I said, we're dealing with the amount of people, more than the amount of people that filed for unemployment during the Great Recession over a 2-year period in what is now a 5-week period. So we're asking people 3 things. Number one, if you could just stay patient. This is a new situation for everyone, and we are working as hard as we can, as I've kind of laid out today, on a bunch of different things to try to address as many situations as we can. But we're all doing this for the first time, and if we could all stay patient with each other, it's going to go better. Secondly, can we stay kind with one another? I really like to point out that we're here in New Mexico, we are one big family. And there's only about 6 degrees of separation between pretty much anyone in the state. And if we can treat each other like we're on our best behavior at Thanksgiving dinner, then I think it's going to be better for everyone as well. The last thing is to really play team ball. We are all in this together. We are all having roles to play. The only way to beat this virus is for everyone to do what they can to socially distance themselves, stay out of large groups, don't travel, and make sure that where we can, we wash our hands all the time and practice cleanliness. If we do those things, we will flatten out the curve on this virus. And if we do all those things, we're going to get back to as normal as we can, faster than otherwise. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys today. Let's all keep our heads up. Let's all keep working hard, and we'll get through this thing together.
Thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you guys are, and it's so important that people understand you taking the time to answer these questions and also share with us a little bit of information directly from you. So we appreciate that. And you're right. New Mexico is very small. We are a family. We are probably about 1 degree of separation. I don't know that New Mexico has a 6 degrees, but I think what you stated was the most important. If we can all just be kind and patient during this time, we will come out better and stronger than we ever have. And so thank you again to the Department of Workforce Solutions. And I want to also do a final shout out to our partners in this webinar series with Square Inc. and also New Mexico Tech. We appreciate you guys. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow around the noon hour. Have a great day.